JB Bickerstaff deserves a lot of credit for
Yep.
leading Cleveland
Yep.
into a season which almost had them in the playoffs, which I don't think many of us even saw as a possibility for them going in. Looking at how he finished on the Coach of the Year ballot, he did pretty well for himself. He finished fifth overall. So he had 28 total points, and, he didn't get any first place votes, but he got 4 second place votes. So really impressive stuff from JB as he led that team to a surprising season. But we got to touch on the winner of this award, man. Monty Williams takes home Coach of the Year. Howard Beck's tweet here from a few days ago is pretty funny. Monty Williams wins Coach of the Year a year later than he should have.
100%.
A couple opinion, but I don't think it's an opinion that only he has. Like, many of us agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, Thibodeau is great, man, but seriously, like, Coach of the Year,
Yeah.
I think he got exposed this season, if I'm going to be honest on that one. But, I mean, did you have Monty Williams on your ballot as number one? And if
Yes.
you did, who was number two for you? There's a lot of great
options there. Man, like you said, I did have Monty number one. Well deserved. Congratulations to him. I mean, phenomenal year last year, phenomenal year this year, phenomenal year or time in the bubble as well, where they really started to confide in each other and really start to build a foundation of what we're seeing today. And number two for me was Taylor Jenkins. It was tough, man. It was tough because you're like picking nails, it's like thin, I'm forgetting the saying, but you know what I'm trying to say. It was a really tough to pick between Taylor Jenkins and Eric Spoelstra, because what Eric has done I think Eric has dealt with injuries the best. Eric has maximized, and that's what you're supposed to do as a coach. You're supposed to maximize what you have on the roster, whether it's, the last guy on the bench, or some G leaguers, injury reserves. I mean, they were really struggling through the year in terms of having a consistent lineup through and throughout the season. And Spo handled it like seamlessly. I mean, guys were coming in and out and handling it beautifully. And I gave Taylor the edge just a little bit, only because of the fact, there was a certain unity that they played with. Not that the Miami Heat don't play with that same level of unity, but I think that the way that they were all brought along, it is really tough in this NBA. Or I think you look at the history of the league, it is really hard to bring a young group together that has, when you're young, you have a lot of, your mind wanders. You want to be great in your own right. You want to be able to expand your skill set. So I think one of the hardest things to do as a coach is to level set expectations with all of your young players. That is a young roster.
Oh yeah.
A young roster outside of Steven Adams, who is, their mentor, their leader, or in terms of, their veteran leader, I should say.
Right.
So it is really hard to bring them together, and it is, a luck plays a big role as well. And, what they did, without Ja Morant, and, credit to the coaching, credit to their depth, credit to, the player development. I mean, I feel like they have a great, just machine running there. They're very machine-like in terms of their player development and, the way that they approach things. I think that they have the same, I think it's a very different culture than Miami, but I do think that they're awesome. And I mean, you can make the case that Spo is, it's one thing to win Coach of the Year, but I mean, we could argue Spo, Nick Nurse, those guys are maybe top 1-2 interchangeable. Most people might say Nick is better, but I mean, I think it's so close. It's like for me, it's like a 1A, 1B conversation. Really, it really is. So that's where I'm at with that.
That's totally fair. And your comment about the age of the Grizzlies reminds me of what John mentioned. I think it was our last podcast. He mentioned that the Grizzlies, I mean, he might be the youngest roster in the league, if I'm not mistaken. At the very least, it's one of the top 3 youngest rosters in the NBA, which blows my mind, because, I mean, they're here in a competitive series against the Warriors, which it looks like at this point they won't quite pull out. But in any case, to be competitive, to be in the second round of playoffs, there's a lot to be said about that. And in the regular season, I mean, 56 wins. I think it was tied for their best season in terms of wins in franchise history. top 5 in both offense and defense. And then John Morant missed 25 games.
Yeah.
As you said, they dealt with his absence a lot. So I think that it's not really a surprise that we go into the playoffs and we see them being competitive against the Warriors. Some people are like, why can't the Warriors put away the Grizzlies without their best player?
Yeah.
It's because they've gotten so used to playing without him that when he is out of the lineup, it's just like, hey, next man up. We got this. We're going to play the same way. We're going to be tough minded. We're going to play together. We're going to make life difficult for every single player on that other roster. And, guys step up to the plate 1 through 15. It doesn't matter who is asked. And that's a similarity that Phoenix has, that Miami has, Memphis. They all have deep rosters. You can call on number 7, 8, 9, 10 to go out there and have a great night for you to salvage the game.
Yeah.
So, definitely a huge credit to Taylor Jenkins. I mean, he had an argument for being number one. It's tough to beat Monty, man. 64 wins. Best season in terms of wins in franchise history for the Suns. They were top 5 in offense and defense. They missed Booker for a little bit during the season. CP3 missed some games. So definitely tough to beat out Monty. But those other two guys definitely had a case for being in that mix. And going from there, I mean, there's other coaches that definitely had great seasons. I mean, I touched on JB Bickerstaff before.
Yep.
Ime Udoka finished 4th, 26 third place votes. Let's not sleep on Udoka, who led one of the great comeback seasons in NBA history,
Yep.
starting as a play-in team as of early January to catapult yourself to within shouting distance of the number 1 seed. Really incredible effort. He got everybody to buy in, from Tatum all the way down that team. Everybody just dug in their heels and finished with the top defensive rating in the entire league. That's crazy, man. That's unbelievable. So shout out to Ime Udoka, Tyronn Lue, Jason Kidd, all the way down, man. All these guys had great seasons, and it hurts to not win. But if you're even in the mix, that says a lot about you as a coach. And in an industry where there's a lot of change in that position, I think it assures you a little bit of job security. I don't think any of these guys are going anywhere for next season. So definitely a lot to be said about how all these guys performed.
Yeah, I think Chris Finch, Billy Donovan, all these guys. I mean, really, the depth in coaching that we have in the league this time, or in this era, can't remember the last time I have seen an era so deep in terms of just coaching.
Yeah,
there's just a ton of coaching talent, and we're starting to see that in the product. I mean, the game is beautiful as usual.
True that, man. One last thing about coaches, I think in this era today, it's not just that coaches have a great understanding of the game. I mean, all coaches know the game inside and out, I'm sure. You wouldn't get in the position otherwise. But there's a whole nother element to coaching, which is like, how do you deal with the personalities on your team?
Yeah.
If you're one of those coaches that go out there and you demand respect, but at the same time, you have a softer side, you're willing to deal with players' shortcomings, deal with certain players' flaws, and work that into the intricate fabric of the team in order to get yourself to a better place. That is very impressive and a huge part of the job. So I think it's important that we don't understate that either. It's just the management of personalities. When you're in the office with guys on a day-to-day basis, you're going to war. You have to be able to balance all that out. And all these guys do that at a very high level. So very impressive for sure.